Hi everyone. Now we're up to what happened to me when I got government housing part 15. And this is where things start to get really bad. Obviously, it was bad that I had been assaulted and that it kept happening. And it was bad that I had to live in fear of being assaulted. And that I couldn't find a lawyer to represent me, and that the police actually yelled at me when I asked them for assistance. All of that was bad, and a lot of other things were bad as well. Like the fact that I was losing friends and I wasn't able to make friends or socialize. When I moved into the block, I made friends with a few of the neighbours, but talking to them wasn't possible anymore because the respondent would come out of his unit and stare at me until I stopped and went back inside my unit. So he was intimidating me out of having friendships, and that had a really bad effect on me because as a single parent who was living on a pension, I didn't have many options to socialize. I felt uncomfortable going out because I was scared that the respondent or someone associated with him would turn up. Because I had no money, socializing was hard, and making friends with my neighbours was one of the most practical situations for me. Having friends in the block was good until the respondent ruined that part of my life as well. My daughter used to play with some of the neighbours' kids until all of this happened, but I had to stop her going to the other neighbours' units because I didn't want to be ambushed by the respondent. The incidents were continuing, and I'll describe a few of them and then get on to some of the most disturbing parts of my story. I just wanted to say at this point how grateful I am to BitChute for publishing my videos and for giving me a voice. And I think that you all will know what I mean by that, because we all know that when you have something important to say that involves telling the truth and exposing people, you often get shadow banned or cancelled. So by the 17th of the 3rd, 2016, the respondent was continuing to park his car near my daughter's school when I went to pick her up at home time. We had no association with him, so I don't know why he was doing that, but obviously it was a form of intimidation. And a lot of what he did to me was just about presenting himself to me and confronting me, probably because he had assaulted me so many times before and he knew that that would scare me. His behavior didn't just scare me away from him, it scared me away from everyone. It got to the point where I couldn't stand people walking towards me, and I would stay away from basically every public situation, apart from ones where I definitely had to go, like taking my daughter to school and picking her up from school. Then on the 26th of the 3rd, 2016, the respondent had been pouring chemicals down his drain, as in the kitchen sink. And the units in this block appear to have the same layout that mirrors, the unit above and below. And from what I could make out, his sink was directly above mine, and the chemical smell from the respondent's unit stayed in my unit, and it gave both of us really bad headaches. On the 29th of the 3rd, 2016, the respondent spent all day banging on my ceiling, which, as I explained before, was his floor because he was in the unit directly above me. And he actually moved from room to room banging on my ceiling, like, for example, like banging like it'd be in the bedroom, in the kitchen, in the lounge and so forth. And it seemed to just continue like that, changing from room to room all day. It sounded like he was using a hammer, but obviously I don't know. And yeah, and that was really hard for us. But that sort of thing would happen a lot. There was also some other times when I would go into my daughter's room to read her a book or something, and there would be banging above us, which was really loud and really aggressive. And I had to actually stop reading her books because of his behavior. So now we're up to the 31st of the 3rd, 2016. So this is well after a year after he actually first assaulted me. And this day is significant for many reasons. On this day, I attended the Melbourne Magistrates Court for a final hearing for my intervention order against the respondent. And these hearings are called contested hearings and cross applications. So, as you know, I had approached a lawyer to represent me and they refused. And the police had repeatedly refused to help me. But I trusted the court system and I believed that having all the evidence that I had and telling the truth in court would be enough. I attended court alone with my evidence and I was told that it was going to be a full day hearing. The thought of being in court for a full day sounded horrible, but I had to go. The other thing that was horrible was that I knew that I would be in the same room as a respondent, but I saw court as a safe environment. I knew that they had cameras around the courthouse and cameras in the courtrooms, and they also have voice recording equipment in the courtroom, so I felt that I would be safe. And I just wanted to get a final order against the respondent because I believed that it would protect me from further assaults. So when I went into the courtroom, I was shocked to see that the respondent actually had a barrister and a solicitor with him. And I couldn't believe it. He lived in government housing and didn't work, but he turned up to court with a barrister and a solicitor. I know that at that time lawyers charged around $1,800 a day to represent you in court, so I guess that it would be double for the solicitor as well. I don't know why people who don't work are allowed to turn up to court with expensive lawyers. I think that that doesn't make sense. I think someone should have made the respondent justify how he paid for the lawyer and the solicitor, but no one in the court batted an eyelid. They also didn't seem to care that I was there on my own. The court hearing started out bad for many reasons. Firstly, I asked for a private hearing, and I could see about 3 or 4 young Asian people sitting at the back of the courtroom, and I was never told who they were. I assumed that they were students, and they also appeared to be filming the hearing. The other thing was that I was told that I had to provide all of the evidence that I had to the respondent's lawyer and to the court, and the judge started the hearing by saying that he hadn't received my evidence. So the judge asked the administration person sitting next to him if they had the evidence on file, and he was told that there was nothing on the system. I had to print out all of the evidence at my own expense, and I posted it to the court and to the respondent's lawyer at my own expense. And this is out of the pension money that I was getting. I wasn't working at that time. I also made a point of sending the evidence to the court by registered mail, and as well as that, I paid extra to get a delivery receipt from Australia Post. After I mentioned the delivery receipt to the respondent's lawyer, he admitted that he had the evidence that I had sent him, and then the court hearing proceeded. For some reason, the respondent's lawyer seemed to be directing the hearing, and I was told to take the stand from the outset. I stood on the stand and waited to be questioned, and the respondent's lawyer yelled at me until I burst into tears and then continued yelling at me while I was crying. The whole time that this was happening, the respondent sat there watching it. The judge did nothing to stop him, and the admin person remained calm, like this was normal behaviour. The young people sitting up the back witnessed the respondent's lawyer yelling at me too, and I saw these people holding up their phones. And as I said, I believe that they were filming me. So there must be a video of what happened to me somewhere out there, presumably on their phones if they haven't distributed it or kept it or done something else with it. I would like those people to come forward and release the video that I believe has been made to prove what I'm saying. I'd like everyone to see what happened to me, because I don't see the point of making these allegations without offering an opportunity for people to verify what I'm saying. I'd also like the Melbourne Magistrates Court to release a video of my hearing so the whole world can see how I was treated and what happened to me on that day. I think the respondent's lawyer should have been charged with assault for yelling at me. There were a lot of other details about that hearing which were disturbing, but I can't cover all of them in this video for many reasons. At this point, I think the most important thing is to corroborate my story and to get an explanation from those involved about what happened and why it was allowed to happen. I don't believe that the respondent's lawyer would have yelled at me if I had gone to court with a lawyer, but I was there on my own and he got away with it. So by this point, I had been repeatedly assaulted by the respondent. I'd been yelled at by the police, and now I was being yelled at and verbally assaulted by a lawyer in a courtroom.